Welcome to the Go Flush Yourself podcast with Jared Kirk and Matt Milbauer. All right, welcome to another episode of the Go Flush Yourself podcast. I'm here with Jared. No guest today, just Jared and I. We're just getting our season started, and I know Jared's excited to get Bones out in the field. How's Bones been so far in the first week or so of bird season?
He's been good. We had our opener of doves on the first. Took Bones out. We kind of just did I guess for lack of a better term, kind of like a jump shoot for doves. We weren't just going to sit around, or basically a puppy walk with a shotgun, I guess. But Bones did good. He stayed, relatively close. We got into a couple coveys of quail. Obviously didn't shoot them because the season's not open yet. But he did get into them and flushed them. I had a couple good shots. Had the season been open, we did get a couple doves, not a ton. I think we shot two, or I shot two. My kid shot at doves, but didn't connect, unfortunately. But Bones was able to kind of mess around with his first, I guess, live, halfway alive dove, I guess. I clipped one and he got to mess around with that for a little bit.
Nice.
Barked at it for a while. But that was good. And then I went out yesterday morning. I had like an hour and a half to hunt, and just went out real quick. No doves, but ended up getting into some pigeons, which are legal here. They're, I guess, considered an invasive species. So
like a rock dove pigeon, not like
I guess that's what they're
bandtail.
Considered. They're not a bandtail. We do have a season for bandtail pigeons here, but these are not bandtail pigeons. They're just your city pigeons, I guess, for lack of a better term. Not in the city, obviously. I was out in the country, so anyways, it was around a bunch of farm fields. Ended up getting a couple of those. The first one, was basically the same size as Bones. So he was. That one was a little different. He did kind of pick it up, but again, he's pretty small. The second one I ended up shooting, he saw fall and ran after it, and kind of picked it up. And then the third one he didn't see fall because it was actually kind of like, I guess what you call, not a double, but I hit two birds with one shell, and that one dropped a little further. But yeah, he's interested. He barks at him a lot. He messes around with them, picks them up, and I can't really, I guess at this point in time, I really can't, expect anything else.
So I guess we never talked about this, but have you shot pigeon before and eaten it? And I'm curious how it tastes compared to maybe like dove, or because dove is the closest you're going to get to it, a morning dove.
I have shot pigeons in the past, but it was when I was a little kid, and it was like at a feed. It was like at a cattle, I guess, ranch. And it was kind of more of we were helping the farmer, I guess. So most of them fell into the actual, where the cattle were at. The cattle weren't there when we were shooting, but that's where they kind of their holding pen, I guess, for lack of a better term. So we didn't eat any of those. Because it was more, I guess, eradication, I guess, is what we were after for that.
Right.
Probably should have, looking back on them, but because of where they fell and stuff like that, they were just gross. Yeah, I don't know. I guess as a youth, whatever. Anyways, but these ones, I did clean them. They're all they're not breasted out. They're plucked.
Cool.
They're all plucked. They're in my freezer. They look like, from what I've looked at recipe wise, they seem like they're just they're a red meat. Also like dove.
Like dove, yeah.
Yeah, just bigger. So I'm kind of interested in see how they'll turn out. I'll try to I don't know. Most of the time when I do birds and stuff like that, when I'm cooking it, I have to have kind of an occasion to do it. Make not a spectacle out of it, but kind of make a big deal about it when I cook the birds. So I think I still got a pheasant left and a quail. So I'll probably do some sort of like smorgasbord or something like that with all the birds for like
nice.
Thanksgiving or something like that, or Friendsgiving or whatever.
Nice. I think I'm out of game meat right now. So I think I finished my last bird. It was still winter. So I smoked a bunch of mine and yeah, my grandpa who's now 87 was avid bird hunter back in the day. And just recently I would take him dove hunting. But and he would sit in this chair and try to keep him in the shade. And he'd bring his shotgun. We'd never really shoot it, but he'd bring it. It was good
Yeah.
outing. Anyhow, I was bringing him a lot of pheasant and quail. I was smoking it on the Traeger and bringing him that. And man, he ate that faster than I've ever seen anyone eat probably anything. Like he was
Oh
so
yeah.
excited to eat some game meat again. It's probably been a while for him, but so I think this year I'm gonna do that too. I usually smoke some and bring some over to family like Thanksgiving or Christmas, and
Yeah.
those who like to partake. And some people, I think everyone usually gives it a try, and then others really like it and dig into it. And then
Yeah.
I think I'm going to bring a lot to my grandpa again, so he can have a little treat because he loves eating game meat, especially birds.
Yeah, I like that. I do. I smoke a lot of this, my birds too, and stuff like that, just because I think it adds a lot to it. So I'll probably end up doing that with the birds and stuff. But yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited. Next week's grouse opener.
Yeah.
We'll take Bones out and we'll see what kind of shenanigans he can get himself into, and then yeah.
And for those kind of not on the West Coast, grouse here is a little different than other places. When you think of like a rough grouse and you're thinking of New England or the North Woods, um, you're thinking of your pointing dogs and maybe side by side shotguns and quick shots as grouse fly through the trees. At least from what I've seen on YouTube, this is not something I've partaken in. But Jared, do you want to talk about how it's kind of like how it's done here usually and kind of what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's I grew up grouse hunting like the not the I guess not the East Coast traditional sense. A lot of times we shot grouse with 22s. Also shot them with single shot 410s.
And without dogs. This is like
Without
out of a
dogs.
tree, right?
Yeah, this is shoot them out of the tree or when they're on the ground. Really kind of depends. Done the again as a youth, doing the just driving kind of back roads or walking the closed forest roads looking for grouse that are kind of hanging out on the side of the road, and taking shots at them. I have when I had my first dog Dakota, he went with me a couple times to get grouse, and but I don't think in the years I hunted grouse here in Washington. I think I might have seen one guy with a dog, and I want to say it was a setter. And it always, but then I also, not grew up, but read a lot of books, like Ted Lundgren. He's got a bunch of like grouse books.
Yeah.
And always wanted to do the whole back east grouse hunt kind of thing. So,
it seems romantic. Like
it absolutely does.
When I think about it, it's like it sounds. I don't know. Like growing up, I read a lot of Robert Frost, and that's not necessarily hunting or outdoors or bird hunting poetry, but there's a lot of outdoors to it, right?
Yeah.
And I always get that kind of image in my head of like the rugged northeasterner, New Englander out with his side by side and a setter and wearing hunter red plaid jackets, buffalo plaid, whatever. And that's as it comes to my brain, it's like, oh, that seems so romantic. It's so different than out here on the West Coast than how we see it. And maybe no one does it that way anymore. I'm sure some people do, but that's what comes down for me. And it's like, I want to do that at some point. It'd be kind of cool to go take a stab at that.
Oh yeah. Like, and just like Robert Rourke and stuff like that, and Old
Man
and all that, with the side by side 20 gauge or the side by side 16 or stuff like the romanticism of it is pretty cool. So I think we're gonna try it with the dog this time. We'll see how it goes. I think the romanticism is probably going to end with the dog though, because I mean he's not a pointing dog obviously, but
right.
I'll be shooting most likely a semi-auto 12 gauge, granted, it's an old semi-auto 12 gauge, so it kind of counts. And like my dad's going, and I'm trying to convince him to not bring a 22. And we're gonna shoot these birds out of the sky like we're supposed to.
Oh man.
And I think my kid's probably gonna bring. I don't know what my kid's gonna bring. He'll probably bring a 12 gauge too, because we're mostly 12 gauge people. But
Yeah.
yeah. So the romanticism is there, but it's a very small part, I guess, for me. But yeah, it's honestly just kind of getting them into some different covers and some stuff, and then maybe see what we can get ourselves into, really.
One thing that I always want to say first, like, I don't know if I know anyone locally. So if you haven't listened before, we're in Southeast Washington State, kind of around the Columbia rivers and that area. I don't know if anyone like who was a bird hunter with a dog and stuff who would go up into the mountains after grouse with their dog and shotgun. Everyone I know that shot grouse like growing up and know now are like primarily deer, elk, big game hunters who bring their 22 along and pick off a grouse or two while they're out. So yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. One thing I worry about when you're thinking of that kind of terrain versus what we're used to, which is sagebrush and grasses and cattails and that kind of thing, is all the logs and sticks poking up and injuries potentially to dogs. So like, does it come to my brain not being someone who's normally in the woods, and get dogs kind of getting poked and stuff, and just the terrain be different. I think it's going to be awesome for bones, but have you been thinking about a first aid kit, or have you looked at that yet on kind of where you want to go with bones? I mean, and it's not just for the mountains, that's in general, right? Anything can happen anywhere, but what have you been thinking there? I carry a dog first aid kit, but haven't thought, I bought one off the shelf and actually off Amazon, and got some blood clot powder and threw that in my vest too, and some pliers, but I haven't really thought about anything else. How about you? What have you been thinking about for bones?
Yeah, I did recently pick up a first aid kit for him. It's by Kurgo. It's like a canine first aid kit. A lot of this stuff is going to be the same as a person first aid kit too.
There's a lot of crossover.
I have thought about it. I've had actually, again, going back to my first kind of dog, whatever, the one that came with me every once in a while was Dakota. He actually ended up getting he cut his leg, and I realized all I had was I had just a small first aid kit for people, and I'm like, well, this isn't going to work. So I was able to get him patched up and stuff. But it's something I think about. I do a lot of first aid because of work stuff. I have a lot of first aid experience and stuff like that. So I definitely carry a first aid kit. I also have a couple of tourniquets, just because we're messing with guns and stuff like that. It's good to have. And I've got a couple other, I've got the quick clot and all that other stuff too that I generally carry with me, which is one of the reasons why I'm looking to get into different vests, because I'm running out of room. But yeah, no, it's I think it's something good to have, if nothing else, and to have at least some generalized training on stuff. I'm sure there's some canine specific first aid stuff that I'm unaware of, but I think a lot of it is probably stop the bleed kind of, that kind of stuff. I would be interested if I could find a canine first aid class to actually go to it, though. That would be kind of interesting.
Oh, that'd be cool. I wonder if okay, now I'm just brainstorming here. I wonder, I think I brought this up on the podcast before, but we're starting a Pheasants River chapter in our county here, or kind of rebuilding one with some new folks. And actually, I found some people who were on previous ones too that they're up and ready to help out too. But anyhow, I wonder if that'd be a good class for the membership here locally. Is find someone who can do a dog first aid class. I'm sure a vet tech or someone locally could at least give some pointers and maybe a supply list for people to think about, because trying to think about, okay, what do I need in my dog first aid kit? You can go online and find some lists. All right, I feel comfortable. I got this and that. And I kind of mix and match the human one and the dog one for one to carry in my vest, and then have a canine and a human one. There's some bigger ones in my truck.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about it. I've done a lot of human first aid stuff, training, and some
Yeah.
response, but not dog. I have been fortunate not to have a significant dog injury in the field yet, so that's good. Knock on wood.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I did find I think I brought this up when I was going through my Dove bucket. Was that last episode? In my final rise vest, there's in the back orange panel, at least mine's orange if you have an orange one. There's like a zipper, kind of a side compartment on it. It's right, like it's the top part of the game bag.
Oh yeah.
Like you can slide a little first aid kit in there just perfect, and like a pair of Leatherman and some Please Stop and stuff like that. And you can it's a perfect spot for just those kinds of things that you don't need access to all the time, like your shells or something, but something that's right there on your back to have it ready to go. Or even if you fell or hurt your leg, you couldn't be too mobile. You could reach right around and get some that you need. So I know you're looking at new vests out there, and I know you're looking at final rises. It's like a perfect first aid kit spot in those vests.
Yeah.
Anyhow, well, yeah. So hopefully we don't need these first aid kits ever. But if you're out there and you have dogs, and you don't have one, you need to really look into before the season starts, because things can happen in a flash out in the field. Last year in Montana, Bridget found her first porcupine. There was this good size, I think it was a sagebrush or some sort of thick bush. Maybe it wasn't a sagebrush. Anyhow, there was she was super interested, like, but not birdie. Like if it was a rooster or chuck or something, she would have been flushing it, but she was super interested in it, but like cautiously interested. So much so I couldn't. I tried to call her off it, and she was looking at me like, "No, there's something you don't understand. You need to get over here." Like, like I'm not. Like, we got to figure this out. And I looked in there. I saw things moving around. I'm like, it looks kind of like maybe feathers. And my dad was like, "Oh, maybe it's a bird. Maybe it's an injured bird." And I'm looking, and then I saw the quills. It turned. I saw I'm like, "Oh, porcupine!" I pulled the dogs off. We got the dogs back and healed and stuff. But that could have ended much worse. And we have porcupines out here, and a lot of people deal with them all over. But I'm glad she was cautious, because if she just went after it, man, that would have ended her. That was the very first place we went in the Montana trip. That was like an hour after daylight on the first day. Yeah, we were like, wow, we almost ended the trip early, at least for one dog. So, great, yeah. Well, anyhow, thinking about, I've been looking around, and as you do, looking at different breeds out there, and there's a lot more flushing breeds than we think about. It's always the handful that come to mind, but there's a lot more ones out there that are kind of a lot more rare. You don't see them as often. But one thing I was thinking of was I was looking at these labs, and just, not that I need another dog right now, but I was looking at just this lab breed that's kind of local, and I'm like, oh, look at all these pheasants and pictures of them with pheasants. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's like an upland lab breeder. I've never heard of them. And then I found out they're pointing labs. I was like, dang, I don't want a pointing lab. But is a pointing lab is it a pointer? Is it a flusher? Is it a versatile breed? Like, is it none of the above? Because like you can't use one in NAVTA, right?
Yeah.
Even though it probably could do the job, I would think, if you got the right one and trained it correctly. It's not technically a flushing dog, it's pointing.
Right.
How long can it hold the point? I don't know. My brother's older lab, it's not a pointing lab, but she will every once in a while hold a point on a bird. And if it's like a pen raised, like liberated pheasant on public land, like they do like opening day here, that bird will sit there and she'll point it until you go over and flush it, or kind of tell her to go in. She might go in and flush it. So
is it pointing or is it pausing?
That's a good question. I think, if I remember correctly, last time I saw her do it, it was a couple opening days ago. I think she even had her leg raised.
Oh,
like a traditional pointer looking thing. But look at her, she's through and through a yellow lab.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think anything different. And when he got her, she wasn't from like pointing lab lineage, which people try to do. It could have been just an elongated pause, but he's like, oh, she does it every so often. She'll do that. Which there's a whole thing around the pointing instinct, and that all animals do it. Just one
Yeah.
one or the other. It's not like just to pointing dogs that do that kind of thing. But where does the pointing lab fall into it? Like, are they with us on the flushing side because they're a lab, or like who claims them? Are they out on their own in an island? I don't know. It got me thinking about it. Maybe we need to get someone on here who's a pointing lab person
Yeah.
and talk to them, and maybe they're happy being kind of in
On
like
their own.
bird categorization purgatory or dog categorization purgatory. I don't know. Yeah, on their own. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Well, I think it's kind of interesting because if you think about it, like everyone has like every breed or kind of like, I guess category would be a better term. Every category of dog, flusher, whatever, retriever, pointer has their own set standards.
right.
And then you have like, you'll have like the offshoot dogs, that don't really quite meet the standard, but still do some of the stuff. Like I'm sure there's pointing dogs that flush, that if you really get down to it, they would maybe not meet the exact standard of a flushing dog, so to speak, but they flush.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've guys that like have dogs that, point and then they say, a release command or something like that. And the dog jumps in and flushes it just like a regular flusher would. And, so I was like, it's technically kind of a flushing dog at that point, even though, yes, it pointed at previous. So
it's doing the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, but then you have like, but I think there's a lot of like maybe controversy, but about pointing labs and stuff like that because I've looked at them too, because on the surface of it, they seem like, at least for like kind of the hunting I do and stuff like that, just almost perfect, like they're going to be a closer working dog. Just because of I think the lab genetics are probably, obviously still there. So my assumption is that they're probably going to be closer than like, an English pointer or an English setter or something like that, or a big running dog kind of thing,
I don't think they run big though, right?
What's
Like
that?
a
Are
pointing
you talking
lab.
about the lab? Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't think they run big, so they're going to be a closer running like pointing dog, So like,
right.
So you have that, and then but they also have everything that labs have. They have the retrieving instinct, they have the water swim. I mean, they have all the stuff that like, so on the surface of them, like honestly, they seem like, at least, and again, I think this comes down to like what kind of hunting and stuff you do, and and expectations on like what you expecting a dog to do. But like if I found a pointing lab and like it met what I wanted and stuff like that, and I was in the market for a dog, I don't think I'd say no. I think like there's a lot going for him. I think yes, it's not a flusher, but it kind of is, I guess.
Well, I mean, if you bought, we've talked about this in the past, of like, at least for me, that if I ever got a pointer, I'd probably get a Brittany. So let's just use it for example. If I got a Brittany and it bumped a bird early in its development, right?
Yeah.
Or a wild bird got up, I'm not going to shoot it because I want, it's like
you want it to
pointing training 101, right?
Yep.
I want it to point and learn. That's how we get birds. And it's a teamwork thing. Would you do that with a pointing lab, or would you be like, hey, whatever you do, you're working near me, you flush one like a standard lab, great, or you point one, cool. Like, do you want it? I'm trying to think what I would want out of it. Like, would I want it to be smart enough to figure out? And I know dogs can do this, like are smart to do it, where they could, I'm going to point this bird and it's holding, I'm just going to hold point. Or this bird's running, screw the pointing, I'm going to chase this thing, get it up like a flusher would. Like, I wonder if you could find, and we need to get someone on to talk to about this, because I wonder if you could find a line where they kind of can do that kind of thing, where they can adjust to the scenario. It'd be terrain based. It'd be a lot of maybe where their owner is, or the handler is. I don't know. There's this breed. It's not an official breed, I don't think. And there's only one guy breeding them. I think he's out of Idaho, called the Wessel Pointer. I think you and I have talked about this in the past.
Yeah, we did. I do remember that.
So I think he's out of Idaho. His last name's Wessel. I'll have to look up. This is off the top of my head, but he essentially brought together labs, GSPs, and I think a little bit of English Pointer.
Mm-hmm.
And he has all three colors of labs. If you looked at it just real quick, you'd think, oh, there's a lab. But the tail's docked to like kind of like a Field Springer length.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like maybe the last third or half of the tail is docked off. So that kind of throws you off looking like a lab. From my look at the pictures, the yellow ones look most like a lab, and the chocolate ones look least, maybe more like a GSP.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my only thought of there is to get across essentially between a GSP lab and a little pointer to be a yellow lab, like you need a lot of lab DNA in there. And the chocolate, like you'll see a full brown or black GSP. So like that, you know, it's not a huge stretch. That's just my thought. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we need to talk to him. But these dogs are kind of the best of both worlds, where it's supposed to be swimming and retrieving of the lab and the versatility and pointing of the GSP and a little bit of the pointer. And people who have them, I've seen some kind of reviews, for lack of a better term, and they seem very happy. They say they do as promised. But it's one of those things where it's like, this sounds too good to be true. Like it's like the promise of the doodle, of the Labradoodle or Golden Doodle. Like it's hypoallergenic and it's, you know, family dog like a lab and can do this and that. And I know not all of them are that way. I'm sure some are. But this line apparently he's been working on for, I think it's like a couple decades. He's been working on this line. Is the people who like him. The only problem is you can't do official like dog games with him, right? You couldn't do AKC stuff. You couldn't do NAVHDA stuff or anything else. So you'd have to really be in it just to get the dog for hunting and anything else you would do outside of those kinds of things. But it's really interesting. Kind of the lines blurred on flushers and pointers. Well, I guess that's a pointer. It's called a Wessel pointer, and a pointing lab is pointing and playing it a pointing dog way. But maybe it's just a pointer who has a little more natural retrieve and swim. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, that those Wessel pointers are out of Idaho.
Idaho. Did you look them up? Okay.
I'd look them up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. So not terribly far from us.
No.
I remember talking to my rep brother about that because he's always been a lab guy, and he brought up that he's like, I might want to look into one of those. It seems almost like a gateway drug from being a flusher person to go to the pointer side. Like get one of those Wessel pointers or a pointing lab and see where it takes you. It might take you straight over to your next dog's a GSP or something, but I don't know. It's interesting.
It is. Yeah. I've looked at the pointing dogs and stuff like that. Like, I think oddly enough, if I was going to get a pointing dog, it would, a pointing lab would be pretty cool actually. But honestly, the one that I would get, oddly enough, is a Brocco.
They're cool. Yeah.
They're very cool. Like, I know Ronnie Bames runs them or whatever like that.
Yeah.
I've seen a bunch of his videos, and I don't know, they just look cool.
Well, you have a Basset Hound, right?
I do have a Basset.
Like, at first glance, you're like, is that a tall Basset Hound? What is that? Just a hound? What is that?
Yeah.
You know, if you're not familiar with the breed.
Yeah.
No, they look cool. Their gaits. I haven't seen one in person ever, but looking at videos, their gaits really nice. They like glide. You get one that's built correctly. So I could see that. I could see you guys having one of those too for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Interesting.
I just think of a lot of the terrain out here in the Northwest, that the durability of a lab mixed with kind of the versatility of being able to point would be pretty interesting. I don't see myself ever getting one, but I never say never.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it's not like we're not going to change this to the Go Point Yourself podcast here.
Go point yourself.
But we're sticking with flushers. That's not.
I would be surprised if I ever got a pointing dog, but I'm definitely not writing it off.
No, it's not like it's not like anytime like soon, but like I can see like getting once you're retired and stuff like that, you have a little more time on your hands and a little more
That's true.
ability to go do different things, like maybe adding one, but it'd be still pretty flusher heavy, I think.
Yeah, it just seems to. There's some places around here that I go out some public land, and it's big and it's flat, And having grown up with English pointers, my brain just goes to, I wish I didn't have a flusher right now. I wish I had a couple big running, well-trained pointers that I could just put in this ground to go find, if there's any birds here. But instead, it's me and my flushing dogs and just lots of walking, which I am not complaining about. That's better than just about anything else like we're doing that day. But most of the terrain that I'm seeing here, it's like I'm glad I don't have a pointer. Like when we go out to some of the more popular public land places, and I see there's guys with wire hairs and short hairs and Brittany's and stuff, and there's just not the way the terrain is. It's hilly. It's there's like maybe cliffs. There's different types of vegetation and transitions and water, and it's like I never see them hit enough room to really get their dog out. Like they're having to work close, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, if I had a pointer, I'd want it ranging out and doing the big flat land thing, which exists, but the places with most of the birds, that's not the case.
Yeah,
I like looking close with the flusher.
Yeah, I think a lot of like the public land or the what is it? The like we have a lot of Army Corps of Engineer land and stuff like that is generally in the smaller, like under 1,000 acres kind of thing, which is still pretty big, obviously. But then we have some other ones that are like 200 acres, or I know there's one that's like 30 that I've hunted pretty successfully, honestly.
30 acres?
Yeah, it's like 30 acres. It's not very big. But I've hunted it pretty successfully too and stuff like that. And that's where I think the flushers kind of like work out pretty well. But then at the same time, we also have like, you go, an hour or two away and you start getting into like, up to where, some good chucker hunting and stuff like that, where you have
exactly
5,000-10,000 acres of just openness, and that's when you're like sitting at the bottom of the hill with your flushing dog and you're just like, well, okay,
I really want to do this.
Exactly. You're just like, all right, well, we're gonna try, and then I think it also comes down to just like playing the strengths of your dogs.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna have to like hunt a little differently and stuff like that. Am I still gonna attempt to chucker hunt with my flushing dog? Absolutely, I am. We'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, when I see thickets and cattails and grasses and rolling terrain and water, I'm like, all right, that's my spot. I mean, you can get different birds in different terrain all the place. When I see that, I'm like, that's where I'm gonna have success with my dogs. Whether it was with my older labs or with my springers, like they're gonna get in there and they're gonna get in that thick stuff. Sophie, the older one, she gets right into thickets. Like she doesn't give a single care. She just is like most dogs kind of can't go, oh, this looks like a big blackberry thicket. Like I don't know if I can get in there. I kind of smell a bird in there, but I don't know how to get in. She just puts her head down and walks in. And it's like, oh my gosh. Like, all right. And she pops out with a smile on her face. So that's the kind of stuff I'm like, okay, we can do this. In fact, where was I at? Somewhere. Well, I don't want to hotspot a place anyhow, but I was at a place and those thickets were there, and ran across a couple guys with I think they were wire hairs. Beautiful dogs. They were like the black and roan instead of the liver and roan. Like it's just a liver and roan's beautiful, but that black and roan, maybe I just like black dogs, but they're gorgeous, big, stocky, handsome dogs. And they go, hey, you have flushers? I go, yeah. And they go, do they get in these thickets? I'm like, one of them does. And he's like, oh, we need to get like a cocker or something to get in those things, because their dogs are like, I talked to him for a little bit. Their dogs are pointing. These like little thickets of blackberries. I assume they're blackberries. That's kind of what it looked like. And they were like, they're probably in there. Great. We can't get in there to flush them. They're big enough to where the birds are holding in there. It was probably valley quail. And they were like trying to problem solve when they saw me walking up my springers. They're like, are they going to get in there? Like I said, one does, one doesn't. So it's not a turnkey solution necessarily.
No.
But now I'm just sitting here thinking about the excitement of all these places and talking about them. We're just right at the beginning of getting out in all these places and actually hunting them for the year. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of time spent on, at least for me, a lot of time spent on X, checking out, like dropping pins and stuff like that. Like, hey, I want to check this place out, and I want to check this place out. And then you look at your map, like a big overhead view of your map, and you're just like, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to hit all these places I want to try.
It's a beautiful thing though, because like
good problem to have.
before Onyx, I would hit up the same few spots that I knew. And there were some places I would pass on the highway or something on the dirt road and be like, man, I wonder if you can hunt that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd have to do a lot of research to figure out
Yeah.
first who owns that. Is it public? And if it's public, can I hunt it? And you would just never do it,
Yeah.
But
I
now,
remember,
I have all these pins, and I'm like, I can't get to all these places this year.
No.
And I realized that's really cool that I can't get to all the places I want to hunt this year.
Yeah, no, it is pretty cool. Like like you said, like before Onyx, like I remember driving around as a kid with my dad with a big ass paper map and just marking spots. We'd have we got in Washington, we have they've changed a little bit, but we have a couple different signs. They have the green one says feel free to hunt. And then we have another sign, I think it's yellow. It says
this is like block management for the listeners not from Washington. It's like block management or like public private property that is worked through the state for you that you can hunt on. Yeah, sorry, Jared, I just want to clear that up.
No, yeah, absolutely. So it's a green one that says feel free to hunt, the yellow one that says written permission only, and a red one that says no trespassing, no hunting kind of thing. And so we drive around and looking for, look for those signs, and that way we just at least have a place to figure out where to go. Now it's a little easier. It's actually a lot easier, significantly easier.
It's
but
crazy
you still got to go out. You still got to check it out though, just because it says there's a couple places where I'm like, oh, that's gonna be cool, and I'll actually drive there usually before the season starts, and I'm just like, nope, not even gonna bother. This place is just barren field, even though you can't hunt it. It's just nothing gonna be there.
Like an example, there's I don't know if you've noticed this yet. I hunted there. I don't want to say the name, but there's a HMU, which in Washington State is a habitat management unit, public land, and it's managed by the Army Corps of Engineers. So they'll irrigate sometimes, they'll cut, they'll do different things. Anyhow, there's one that's fairly popular that you may not have gone to last year. I went there once. It's been an HMU as long as I can remember. I went there with my dad when I was a little kid, and I look on Onyx. It's marked as private land now, owned by the farms around it. Say they own that land now. I think Onyx is wrong.
Yeah.
It's also a bit of a drive away, so I don't want to just check it out. It's maybe 50 minutes away.
Yeah.
On the Snake River, trying to help you figure out what I'm talking about without saying it.
Oh.
The other side of the Snake River than probably what you're thinking. Anyhow.
Okay. We'll talk about it offline.
We can talk about it. We can talk about it offline. Yeah. I don't want to leave the listener too far out of the loop. But for example, looking at that, and I'm like, well, if I didn't know better, if I was new here or new into hunting, I would never go to that place because it's not on Onyx. Onyx says that's private land. When you look at it on the map, you can tell this looks like every other HMU out there. But I remember when I was a kid, my dad and his brother had I think it was a binder they built of all these maps, and they some maps are hand drawn by them, some they got from the state or got from wherever, and they had maps and marked and highlights and all sorts of stuff. And I remember thinking when I was a kid, oh, I need to make a copy of that binder for when I'm older. That binder is gold. Everything they ever did was in that binder.
Yeah,
we're little secret spots they found and stuff like that. But now Onyx, you and I just send pins to each other all the time. I've been marking. Last year I marked every pheasant flush. I think every quail flush last year, or covey flush, and marked it rooster or hen. But then it was interesting because when I look at the map of some of the places I go where I went a lot, I tried really hard to walk across the whole area. So I wasn't just hunting the same spot. I'm like, well, they're all over here. Well, it's only because I was there. I tried really hard to walk all over. And I did that a lot, and they were still in the same spots every time. I saw a pattern emerge that I think I maybe subconsciously knew, but definitely not consciously. Onyx is a great tool. I'm not sure how we got in this Onyx conversation. I guess it's easy to get to. It's probably outside of a gun and a dog, and it's probably the most valuable thing I have for hunting.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And then I think we kind of touched on it a little bit, as I think I usually do. I did it for a while, and then I kind of stopped doing it, and I recently restarted doing it. It's just writing down kind of not a journal, but just kind of writing down little specifics about the hunt, what's the weather like, what was the what gun did you use, whatever, what shot opportunities did you have, and stuff like that. I'm doing it right now just mostly for bones and stuff like that, just so I have stuff to look at later on and stuff like that. But just kind of like general, because like you'll have like that time, like, a year, like next year or whatever, like you're like, dude, I went to that place and I can't remember where it was, but I remember I ran into these things, and you're just like, and I cannot remember where we went, because all the, at the end of the year, some of your hunts just start blending together. Some of the covers start kind of like blending into one giant cover and stuff like that. So I've been starting to write down, like, all the different stuff, any like highlights or whatever, like, hey, I flushed quail at this little pin, because I do the same thing. I pin where birds are at and stuff like that. But it's generally nice to just like actually have like a little like written down kind of thing, of like what your experience was and how the hunt went and stuff like that, just so you can look at it later.
That's interesting, because last year was the first year I actually started a journal, like handwritten. I write almost half a page or a page every time after every day I hunted, just kind of summarizing what I saw, what we did, where we went, all those things, how many birds we flushed, and I got a little lazy with it at the end because it was like January, and I'm like, I walked for 4 hours and I saw nothing. Like, there's this pretty bird. I don't know, like something just boring. Like, I don't know, there was a deer I saw. It was running away.
Sometimes it gets depressing, but it's okay.
It was getting depressing at the end. The beginning of the season, it was like, it was fun. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I did that too. Oh, I shot that quail, or we flushed the other covey over here. But no, I think you're right. It's good, and I haven't looked back on it since I put it away last year. But I need to pull that out. I'm glad you actually said something, because I kind of forgot. I need to pull that out and read through it and see if there's anything that sparks anything for what I want to do this year.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. So we're this next week, from what is today? Friday. So we're recording on. So next, 8 days until more things open, and you're gonna go up to the woods and check out some grouse, and I'm gonna go on a youth hunt for some pheasants with my nephew, and then we're rolling right into quail opener, and well, I guess there's a early goose season, early duck opening up soon too. So
I think
there's always that.
Yeah, I think it's open. Yeah, because grouse opens on the 15th.
Oh, 15th is okay.
Yep, grouse opens on the 15th. I think early goose is that weekend too. I'm not doing that. And then I think we have 2 weeks a little over 2 weeks, I think. And then quail opens on the October 4th?
Something like that. That Saturday, that first Saturday of October. So we're off and rolling. I'm sure a lot of you listeners are either out there getting it or just about to. So that's super exciting. I probably won't do any goose or duck this year. Here's a question for you, Jared. I've been thinking about this. When I was, and okay, let me lay this out. When I was younger, like older teenager in my early 20s, duck and goose hunting, waterfowl in general, was super attractive. And I bought decoys and layout blinds and the whole 9 yards. And I think you were maybe in that same boat a little bit, at least. Other people I knew who hunted were in that same boat. And and then as I got older, I have very little interest in that. Not that I would be against a goose or a duck hunt, but I'm way more geared towards upland. I was wondering, is that an age thing? And maybe other hunters who aren't the same age as us, so we're right around the age of 40, who aren't the same, maybe if they're in their 60s, did that happen to you? Or I wonder, if you recall, when we were about that age, Duck Dynasty became very popular. And like duck hunting was like almost mainstream. I don't think it was ever mainstream, but that kind of lifestyle and Duck Commander and all those guys was kind of mainstream. I wonder if it was that, if it was a little more like it was just out there more and we were just thinking about it more. But I think what it comes down to is when I was younger, maybe this says a lot about me. I was like, why would I walk around all day and wear my legs out when I can sit in this blind and drink coffee and wait for birds to come to me? But now I'm like, I want to get out and see the terrain and work with my dog and not just sit all day. Like I sit all day. Back then I walked around at work. Now I sit all day at work. There's different reasons as to why some of this might come into play. But I don't know if you've ever felt the same way or thought about that.
No, I it is. But I mean, at the same time, like I remember putting my waders on, grabbing my decoy bag, and walking for an hour to get to a place I wanted to hunt.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And like, the decoys in the back, and your back just is burning at the end of the time because you have this giant bag of decoys.
Yeah,
and then you have to wait out and put them all out.
Yep. And I like there's still, and it goes back to, there's still like the romanticism of duck hunting, just because it is, there is that, that the getting up early, and then the whole like getting, and then setting the decoys out, and then like freezing your ass off,
Yeah.
In the water waiting for ducks to come out and stuff like that, and calling and stuff like that. And like I stopped duck hunting, not because I wanted to, just because like I lived in Arizona, so, and not that there is duck hunting in Arizona, because there absolutely is, but I was doing other stuff,
right.
And then coming back here, like I love eating ducks. I love eating ducks. Will I shoot a duck this year? I plan to. Am I going to absolutely like target ducks? I don't think so, and that has more to do with the fact that like Bones, I want to take Bones out with me, like, and not that he won't duck hunt with me, because I think he will, but like
he probably would. Yeah,
he probably would, but right now with how old he is and stuff like that, it's not I don't think it's a good time to take him out and have him sweat.
Probably not.
Like that, when he's, like I said, I think he's going to be a smaller springer, based on how big he is right now. I think he's going to be on the smaller side.
I'm a big fan of a smaller springer. So
yeah,
I know. I think you want to have a bigger one, but I think in the end you're going to be happy, because like Bridget's just awesome in the field, and I just love that. I feel like they're more resistant to injuries. They move quicker. I don't know what it is, but I like a smaller dog. But anyhow, sorry, keep going.
But no, you're good. No, so I am gonna duck hunt. I mean, but it'll most likely be jump shooting, which is what I prefer anyways. Like I like decoying and stuff like that, and that it has its time and place and stuff like that. But like, I like jump shooting ducks. I think that's really fun. And there's a couple places that I go, and the place I'm talking about, but where you can logistically, or like you can shoot a pheasant, a quail, a duck, a dove if the season is open, and I've even seen turkeys there. Like, so
I have too. Yeah,
and
geese.
Yep, and geese.
Although that's a dumb goose or a weird day, but still, because usually they're up high. But
exactly, and a rabbit. I mean, like, and
rabbit,
and I really dig mixed bag hunts. Like that's some of my favorite stuff is mixed bag stuff. So like, is there a duck call in my pocket? Typically, always. There's always going to be one in my jacket or my vest pocket or something like that. But there's also a quail call. I'm not gonna lie, there's one of those. There's two.
The valley quail calls, those can work. I mean, not that they're going to call one to you, but you can start locating a broken up covey with those.
It's and you can like, and
I have one too.
Flush them, and then they'll start doing a locator call, and you can start locating, doing it back. Once you flush a big group and stuff like that, and at least it gets kind of pinpoint some a little bit more. Granted, I did that a lot when I was a dogless hunter.
That's smart. Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's right now it's an exciting time. It's the season starting and getting geared up and getting ready, and then a couple weeks we're gonna start hammering it. So it'll be a good time.
Yeah. So you have a 16-year-old son who likes to hunt. Like, is he wanting to waterfowl, or is he just kind of down for whatever you're doing?
I think he bird hunts because I bird hunt.
Okay. Would he rather be doing something different?
He's no, like he bird hunts and he likes going out. I think he likes.
Yeah, he likes it.
He likes going out and stuff like that, and he's been going since he was a little kid and stuff like that. But I think right now he's kind of in his big game phase.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is a tough time for me to be in, because I am out of my big game phase. Not that it's a phase or anything like that, but like phase is maybe the wrong. But
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
It's just not something that like I'm as interested in anymore. It's just I'd rather bird hunt, just because it's, especially in Washington State, we have our modern firearm season is a week and a half long.
Right.
And then that's it. Outside of special tags and stuff like that. So it's just like, like I have, a weekend basically to hunt, depending on my schedule. And well, I mean, he's in school, so he has a weekend to hunt basically.
Right.
and then, but everyone else in Washington State is going to be basically wherever I'm hunting big game seems to be where everyone else in Washington State is hunting big game at
It
that
feels
point.
that. Yeah, I hear you.
And so it's just like, it's out of my, like, it's just not, yeah, it's just not my, I mean, I think he's kind of into coyote hunting too and stuff like that. So we'll probably go,
Okay.
I'll have to put the shotgun up and, well, not put the shotgun up. I'll still bring a shotgun, but I'll leave Bones behind on those days and maybe try and see if we can get him a coyote or something like that. But yeah, I think he went bird hunting with me last week, and he'll go bird hunting with me. But I think it's just because that's what I'm doing. And if he wants to go hunting, he's got to come with me. So
Right. Well, I was even thinking, I went and bought my license for dove. So in Washington, you get the small game, and then state migratory, and then if you want to, that covers dove. But then if you want, to shoot duck and geese, you need the federal stamp.
mm-hmm.
I was thinking, like, do I even need to buy the stamp this year? Because I have no plans to shoot a duck. Like, I just won't shoot at one. I'll be fine. But then I remembered last year when Bridget found that there was a wing. Jared and I were out quail hunting before pheasant opened, and I think quail was the only thing really open for upland. But maybe early duck or duck was open. And Bridget started getting hot in a bird. I'm like, oh, she's Birdie. And we're watching her, and I think we only had her out, and she came back with this duck that was like winged and alive. I'm like, well, okay. And then I give it to you, Jared. I'm like, I really don't want a duck. Like, I have no interest.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against eating duck, but like, I don't know. I'm just solely focused on upland anymore. I'm like, I only want to eat it up. Get it out of my head. I don't even want to think about it. But I thought, well, if she finds it, what if she does that again? Like, I don't have a stamp. Like, that's not good. So
it's worth it.
And the money goes to a good place. I'll pick one up. I just haven't bought one yet, but
yeah,
it went through my head. Like, do I even need one?
Yeah, I mean, I always buy one just because, like I said, like I'm a mixed bag guy. So like if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take it. So
yep, no, I get it. And I would be, if I had a really sweet opportunity to shoot a duck, and like if I jumped one, I didn't have my stamp and it was a beautiful shot, I'd be a little upset. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. Rather, have it, not need it, than need it, not have it, kind of thing.
100%. 100%. All right, Jared. Well, I think that wraps up our episode. Unless you had anything else you wanted to talk about this week.
No, I mean, I guess the only thing is, I know we talked about a little bit, is like the flushing dogs and stuff like that. If there's a listener that has something else that not a Springer, like any flushing dog, reach out. We'd love to chat. We'd honestly love to have you on the show. Honestly.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we don't need to be Springer specific. It just seems like we're Springer specific right now because that's all we got. But yeah, if you have anything else, any other flushing breed, lab, golden, something I'm not thinking of, French bulldog, I don't care. Reach out. And we'd love to, like I said, we'd love to have you on the show. Love to chat.
So I have a friend actually on that note that I worked with him, and he found out I was a hunter, upland hunter. He wanted to come with me and check it out and see what it was like. He's never done it before, and he went with me and had a great time hunting behind. It was a lab. I forgot. Maybe it was my dad's lab. I don't remember, but had a great time. And he's like, "Oh, it's great." I'm like, "Oh, hey, if you want to go again, let me know." He ended up moving to the west side of the state, like shortly after that. But he sent me a picture. He took his boxer out hunting, flushing, and he had a pheasant. He shot a pheasant over there. It was like because over on the west side of Washington, they're all like released pheasants. There's really not a wild population. But he went out to one of the release sites and shot a rooster over his boxer and sent me a picture. So yeah, any flushing dog you have, like even stories like that are fun. But we definitely don't want to just be a Springer focused podcast. Just kind of where we fell in, both having Springers and Jared getting really deep into them right now because he has a puppy and I have the two, but we definitely want to talk about other breeds as well. So if you're out there and you're like, hey, I know this trainer, this breeder, this owner, or hey, I know me and I know a lot about this breed and want to talk about it, like reach out. We'd love to talk to you about maybe having you on and talking about your breed and what you're doing with it. So yeah. Good point, Jared. Yeah, feel free to let us know. We seem to be attracting Springer people, which I'm not complaining about at all.
No.
But because Springers are awesome. But I want to hear about other stuff too. If you have a pointing lab or a Wetzel pointer, I think those are very rare, being one breeder of them. But and I'd love to hear about those too, and kind of where they fit into the fleshing and pointing worlds.
Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Well, hopefully you're out there hunting and whatever's open, and we will talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Go Flesh Yourself podcast. Check us out on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and X. We also have a Patreon, where for a $2 a month subscription, you can help keep our podcast on the air. We also have merchandise available. Please check out the podcast description or the Patreon page for links to merchandise.